For me, Mother's Day cards are easy because the gallery at Stamp TV is full of beautiful floral feminine cards that can easily be turned into a Mother's Day card with the right greeting. But masculine cards are a little bit more of a challenge. So today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you a fun sketch that can be used for many of the men in your life. Let me show you the tools and products you need to make this card. First, you're going to need some stamps, and I'm using 2 stamp sets by Tammy Mayberry. The first one is one of the stitch patterns from the In Stitches stamp set, and then I'm using 2 of the stamps from the masculine tag set. Then I have some ink pads. I'm using Memento Rich Cocoa and some Versamark. I'm also going to use one of the dies from the Labels 22 die set, and that's by Spellbinders. You're going to need some embossing powder, and I'm using the Stampendous Fine Detail White. Then I have an anti-static pad to remove static from the surface of my paper and also to remove any surface oils, so the embossing powder only sticks to where you want it to stick. I also have the Tim Holtz Craft Pick and a little piece of mouse pad here to use underneath my card, and then some assorted brads. I have a marker here by Sukaniko, and this is the Memento Rich Cocoa marker, some mono adhesive, a pair of scissors, and some 1/4-inch pop dots. And then finally, I'm going to use some pop tabs, some tabs from a can of soda. Now, these came from these little short Diet Pepsi cans, or they have them in Sprite. They have all different kinds. But the small ones, the little pop tops, are really small. So they are perfect for card making. And you'll see what I'm going to do with these in just a minute. Then I have some cardstock. The colors that I'm using are the new dark chocolate, some of our 80-pound white, and then I'm using a couple of the pattern papers from the Casual Friday pattern paper collection. Okay, so let me move some of this out of the way and we'll begin. We're going to start by taking a little strip of the denim pattern from the Casual Friday pattern paper pack. And all of the measurements will be under the television, under the screen at Stamp TV, so you can get all the measurements for all these little things. This one is just about 3/8 of an inch wide, so it matches this particular stamp from the In Stitches stamp set. I'm going to start by using the anti-static pad on top of this strip. And then I'm going to ink this up using some of the Versamark ink. Now what's nice about this particular project here is the strip is just about the same size as the stamp, so it's pretty easy to line it up and get it to stamp correctly. So I'm just going to stamp that right on there. There we go. And now I'm going to use just a piece of scratch paper here, and I'm going to sprinkle some of the white fine detail embossing powder on top of this strip. Pick this up without touching the Versamark. There we go. So I want it to appear as though I have some stitching on here. Let me just blow away the excess. Okay, and there's my stitching. Now I'm going to emboss that with my heat tool. And the tool I'm using is the Marvy heat tool. Now, because this is a pretty thin strip of paper and there's not a whole lot of areas to hold it, I'm just going to use the tip of my finger and I'm just going to emboss straight down on it, but I'm moving back and forth quite a bit. Now, if you happen to stamp at a table that's a good quality wood, maybe your dining room table, you may want to put something protective underneath. But if you're just using a utility table, you shouldn't have any problems with this. And that white really gets a lot whiter once you hit it with the heat tool. Okay, there we go. So now my next step is to assemble some of these pieces of pattern paper here. So I have a white layer, and I'm going to apply this particular pattern from the Casual Friday pattern paper pack right on top, and I'm going to line it up, center it. There we go. Let's move that down just a little bit. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to cut this in half, just kind of eyeball it there, cut it in half. And then I'm going to feed these through the tab top here. So this side will fit through the big hole pretty easily. And you may have to, you know, trim the piece just a little bit, and that's fine if you need to do that. You can trim it down, make it just a little bit smaller. Or you can use the bigger tab tops from the regular size soda cans, and they will work as well. I'm going to lay that one there, and then I'm going to do the other one the same way. I'm going to feed it into the top part of that tab top, pop top. And just going to fold it a little bit to feed it through here. And what I'm doing is I'm making some overalls. Okay, and if you have to move that up just a little bit, you can, as long as you've got a little bit on the top to fold over. Now I have another piece here, and I'm just going to line that up, and I'm going to slip those underneath. So I want to make sure that the pop tops are sticking out enough so that I can see them, and then I'm going to tape those down. Just eyeball that on that side, and do the same thing on the other side. Eyeball that one. There we go. Just hold it up here and look at it. All right. I think I'll move this one down just a hair. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to fold these over the top and just tape them down on the other side of the white piece of cardstock. Okay, and now I'm going to put this panel. I love how all these fabrics look like, all these cardstock pieces of pattern paper look like cardstock fabric. All right, and we'll put this right on top there, line it up. Okay, there we go. And now this whole panel is going to go on to my dark chocolate card base. So I'll stick that on right now. And now you can do a lot of things from this point. Some of you may own a stamp that looks like a pocket, and you could put a pocket on the front if you wanted. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp one of the labels from Tammy Mayberry's Masculine Tags stamp set, and I'm going to do that in the Memento Rich Cocoa. I really like this stamp set. Stamp that there. And then I'm going to add Grandpa right across that tag, that open spot. Probably not a lot of grandfather card inspiration in most of the galleries out there, so this will be a nice card for Father's Day for the grandpas in your life. And then my next step is going to be to cut this using the Cuttlebug and that Labels 22 die. So I'm going to start with the A and the B plate and then lay my focal image down. And then using one of the dies, I'm just going to line it up there, and I'm going to use the C plate to cut it out. There we go, and cut. And there we go. I like that a lot better than a pocket. But to keep with the theme of fabric, which is what this card kind of looks like, I'm going to do a little bit of stitch work using this rich cocoa marker. And the Memento markers come with a brush tip, and they also come with a bullet tip. So I'm going to use the bullet tip for this, and I'm just going to hand draw a dotted line, just going right around. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You kind of want it to almost look like it's hand stitched. And then for these sides, I'm just going to go 1, 2, and then down here. Now you can do this with another color if you prefer, whatever color you would like your stitching to be. I thought it would look nice all in brown to kind of match the rest of the card, but you can do it however you want. You might want to do it with a little bit of sparkle pen. And there I have some stitching going around the perimeter of my tag. Now before I apply this tag, I'm going to use the craft pick, and I just laid that tag right on a little piece of mouse pad to protect my work surface and give me some sponge underneath. I'm going to poke a hole in the center of each of these wheels, and this is just to give it a little bit of texture and dimension and a little bit of shine, but keep it masculine. I'm going to use a couple of the copper brads, which I think will look so nice in here. These brads are actually from the Petals and Wings Stamp TV kit, so if you have that kit, you already have some of these brads. And we've done copper brads in some of our other kits too, so if you're a Stamp TV kit fan, you probably have a few extras laying around. You may find that some of our copper brads were a little darker than others, but sometimes the mix is nice too. There we go. Now I have my little stitched tag. I'm going to take some of those 1/4-inch pop dots. I'm going to flip the tag over, and I'm going to put them in the 4 corners. And this will give a little bit of dimension to the card, and it will also help with the brads, because the back of the brads make it a little bit bulky, and by raising this piece off of the card, you don't have to worry about that bulk in the back being seen as an uneven spot on the front of your card. The pop dots just lift it a little bit, not too much that it takes anything extra to mail it, but just enough to keep it nice and flat looking. And I'm going to just apply that tag right onto the center of what might be the bib of some overalls. And there is my finished card. Try using bright, bold primary colors to make a birthday card for a boy. Or use soft floral patterns, and this layout can turn girly for a friend who loves to garden.